Chapter 30. Our job in Seattle was complete. We returned to the hotel and started getting ready to leave. There wasn't another flight back to Phoenix until the next morning, so I couldn't pack everything yet. Back in the common room, I collapsed onto the couch. What now? I asked no one in particular. Now we go home and wait. Something will turn up on Brandon, Alexis said. I know that, I said, waving one hand in the air, dismissing all thought of Brandon for a while. I meant now, tonight. Ah, Alexis' face brightened. I have a surprise for you. Oh? I asked, not moving from where I sat, half reclined on the sofa. Devin said you'd tried to go to Sky City on top of the Space Needle, but you need reservations. I called a few days ago. We have reservations tonight. She smiled brightly. I grinned, unable to stop myself. That's great. I'll have to go get dressed. We showed up a few minutes early for our reservations and were promptly seated at a table near the glass. We got to see nearly the entire city from above and a beautiful view of the Sound as the restaurant slowly turned while we ate. We just ordered dessert when Devin stood. He pulled something out of his pocket before bending to one knee in front of me. Nikki, I know we haven't been dating long, but I already know that losing you would destroy me. You are the other half of my soul, you complete me. He lifted one hand. There was an old-looking gold and diamond ring halfway up the second joint of his finger. Will you do me the honor of being my wife? He asked solemnly. And mate? He whispered the last so softly that only the people at our table, those of us with better than normal hearing, could hear it. I blinked, stunned speechless with surprise until a camera flashed in my face. Yes. I nodded. Yes, I'll marry you. Barely aware of the cheering of the restaurant patrons surrounding us, I slid out of my chair, hitting my knees in front of him and wrapped my arms around him. I love you, I whispered against his ear. We pulled apart, and Devin slipped the ring onto my finger, keeping hold of my hand as we once again took our seats. I looked down at the ring on my hand for a moment. Where did you get this? It was my grandmother's. She left it to me when she passed away. And you brought it up here with you? I wondered if he'd been planning this since before we left home. No. He shook his head. I called Mom and had her ship it up to me. When? I asked, confused. After you were taken, while you were healing. I knew then what losing you would do to me. I turned to Alexis. You were in on this? It was less a question than an accusation. She grinned shamelessly. Guilty. Now give me your parents' number so I can send them this picture. I recited Mom's number. They know about this too? Of course, Devin said. I had to ask your father's permission. Panic coursed through my body. You didn't tell them I'd been hurt, did you? Of course not. I'm smarter than that. I knew you'd kill me if I worried them like that. We finished eating and went down to the observation deck just below the restaurant, where we watched the sunset over the city before going back to the hotel for the last time. By noon the next day, we were in the air on our way home. After the last week, I can't imagine going back to separate apartments and separate beds, I said softly to Devin as we sat on the plane. He looked at me, his face serious. Neither can I. My lease is up next month. I could move in with you instead of renewing like I'd planned, I offered. I don't want to stay in my apartment. He shook his head. The ground floor was good when my leg bothered me more and when I had human hearing, but now it's not so great. We could see if they'd let us transfer the rest of your lease to my apartment, I suggested. The noise from other apartments and the parking lot isn't so bad up there. I only signed a 6-month lease, he said. It's up the end of next month. So you want me to renew mine? I asked, not sure that was where I really wanted to live for another year. Devin was quiet for a moment. I was thinking maybe we could look for a house to rent. Nothing huge, but something where our neighbors don't share our walls, where we can sleep without hearing footsteps on the roof or people talking in the next room. I think I'd like that. I laid my head on his shoulder. You know our mothers are probably already working on wedding plans, don't you? Devin laughed softly. I'll be shocked if Mom doesn't have it planned and booked already. Don't miss the next book in the series, Hunt.